Alright, hello everybody. Today's video I'm talking about how you're gonna get the most damage out of a single physical attack in this game. So when you do that, you first have to ask yourself what your final hit's gonna look like. So in this situation, it'll be a jellyfish shield in one hand, Zweihander in the other. And assuming that I connect the attack while the other enemy is attacking, it'll count as counter thrust damage. And that will stack up to be greater than any other weapon. But if you remove the counter thrust, then it's probably just going to be a colossal weapon, whichever one does the max physical damage when you're at max level. So when we're trying to buff up and do all of these boosts, there's just so many things that you can all do that all stack and don't get in the way of each other. But it takes a certain amount of time to do all of these buffs, and they only last a certain amount of time. So it's most likely not practical at all to try and do every single buff, because by the time you land your attack, a couple of them will probably run out. And after doing some research, I basically have figured out the best order to do it in. And if you're lucky, if the moment you're done buffing, you immediately begin your attack and you land it, it might all stack, maybe. That's a hard maybe though. But basically the way it would work is I would drink my physic first. I would inflict madness while I'm wearing this. So the physic lasts 180 seconds. The buff from this lasts 60 seconds. So those are all no-brainers. Then I would take Blood Boil Aromatic and cast Rallying Standard. These both last 30 seconds. Then I would have to switch helmets, inflict bleed on myself. What's next? I'd have to switch to my setup. But then I have to switch helmets, inflict poison on myself. And after I inflict poison on myself, I'd have to remove the rest of my gear. So this standard, this curved sword, this seal, although that's weightless, so just these two. The standard and the curved sword. Switch medallions to these. Then I would have to cast Royal Knight's Resolve, then Jellyfish Shield, and then I'd be ready to land the attack. This is for, total max damage, but the setup is just so mind-boggling. It's ridiculous. It really is. All right, we're back. So I got my health at just the right amount. So let's get back to where we were. So to do it in order, you'd have to drink the physic, cast madness on yourself to activate the dumpling. So the physic's 180, the helmet's 60 seconds. We're not doing bad so far. So then you gotta switch your helmets prematurely. Then you drink the Blood Boil Aromatic, and then cast the weapon art Rallying Standard. Now that only lasts 30 seconds, so this is where you're really actually pushed for time. But then you cast bleed on yourself, and when I cast bleed and cast madness, it'll put me below the health threshold for the red feathered branch sword. So that's the amount of health I'm at. Once I get madness and bleed, I'll be below 20%. So after I bleed myself, I'm looking at my sheet here. Then you gotta switch weapons and switch helmets. Then you'd have to poison yourself by throwing these pots. Then you'd have to poison yourself. And after you poison yourself, you have to remove all your gear that you're not using. In other words, you have to remove the standard, curved sword, switch talismans, buff up, and then do your final hit. Oh, and remove the helmet too. So that's how much it would take. And it's just it's so wild just how much you have to do to pull this off. It's wild, I don't even know, like, by the time you land a final hit, will every single buff still be in effect? Maybe. You have to remember, Blood Boil Aromatic and Rallying Standard lasts 30 seconds. But how long does it take to do bleed on yourself, to throw your poison, to poison yourself, remove all your gear, then buff your weapon, then buff your shield, then cast the final attack? Can you do all of that before you're Blood Boil Aromatic and your Rallying Standard run out? I don't know. Okay, here we go. Alright. Perfume, Blood Boil, Rallying Standard, Switch, Helmets, Bleed, Switch, Poison, Remove Gear, Switch, Weapons. Alright, so he did 11,404 damage. So it's not the worst. That's actually pretty good. As you saw there in a quick second, my weapon was at 1,779. Although I reckon that was not even the highest damage. But I did 11,400. That's not too bad. So if I manage to do counter thrust along with that, that's like what, an extra 15%, and then counter damage overall was 30. So basically, you're looking at almost a half increase. So what's half of 11,000? You know, 5,000, a little bit less. Because it's not exactly half. It's like less than 50%, but close to it. So you're doing about 1,600 on a counter thrust. Like I'll just here look 1,100, 4,404 times 1.3 times 1.15 for the counter thrust. So 17,000 damage total. So I was off, but still, 17,000. Even if you manage to do all your buffs, and the moment you're done buffing, and the last step is this, and you immediately follow up an attack, and it happens to connect on a counter thrust, and all the buffs are still there by just a couple seconds, you just might be able to land 17,000 damage. So that's pretty much going to be the max. And if you can manage to pull that off, that'd be amazing. But it still wouldn't be enough to one-shot most bosses on New Game Plus 7. It would sure as hell be enough on New Game. Maybe New Game Plus, but Plus 7? No. Wow. This game does not respond. So anyways, I was trying to one-hand the weapon, but if you swing your weapon and you try to one-hand it mid-swing, it queues up as another hit, unfortunately. But as you can see there, you know, that's pretty much all you're gonna ever get out of it, you know. In terms of if you're talking about like a singular hit, you know, a singular hit build, you know, not Comet Azure, right? Because some people may not consider that a true singular hit, but it's a continuous hit. It's still one move though, but in terms of an actual singular hit, no. Not possible on New Game Plus 7 to one-shot any boss. It's just not going to happen. go, nerd. Look at that. Doesn't matter. So that concludes our video just about. So as you saw in the last fight I had with him, when I landed my hit, I did 5,389 damage. So that was with the Physic, the Black Dumpling Head, the Blood Boil Aromatic, the Rallying Standard, and then I used Royal Knight's Resolve on my Zweihander, and then the Jellyfish buff. And without any counterattack, I did 5,389 damage. So, but if you could still somehow stack both poison buffs, both bleed buffs, the counter thrust, and the talisman, if that could all stack, that altogether would triple how much damage I did. So I'd go from 5,389 to doing like 3, and I did the math, it's about 3.1 times more damage, which would total exactly 16,706 health. So as of right now, if you could get max buffs and a perfect counterattack with all the right talismans, the maximum damage you could do in a single physical hit is going to be 16,706 damage. So if a boss has more health than that, then you have absolutely zero chance of one-shotting him with a singular attack. Which is why I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to one-shot him real quick, guys, with a real one-shot build, alright? But now, with just so many different builds, I'm starting to forget how I used to do it. So, I have to two-hand that. Okay, I think I know what to do. Yep, I got it now. You're dead, pal. It's only a matter of heartbeats. Oh, wait. Wrong order. Shit. Yep, you're dead. Yeah, look how much health he had. Like, what was that? Around 26,000 health? Mohg win! Yep. So as you can see, 1 million souls. Definitely new game plus 7, if you didn't believe me. Yeah. He had around 26,000 health there, just about when he died. So even at max possible damage doing 16,000, it would not even come close. So having a pure singular hit melee one-shot build in this game is, it's impossible. It cannot be done. Unless, you know, changes are made, or you go back to the 1.02 patch where you can do the Royal Knight's Resolve glitch. And even then, you know, what, 16,706? So we're not using Jellyfish Shield, so we lost 20%. So let's divide by 1.2, we're at 13,900. Let's add the Royal Knight's Resolve glitch, multiply by 1.8. We're looking at 25,000 damage maximum. And so that just might cut it. I don't think it will, though. I think he has more than 25,000 health. So yeah, totally impossible. Totally impossible. Case closed.